Life can change in an instant. For many wheelchair users, the struggle to push forward is a daily challenge.
After years of development and countless prototypes, we created Rib Grips, the revolutionary wheelchair hand rim covers with built-in ribs for ultimate grip and comfort.
No more slick surfaces, no more heat burns, just pure, reliable grip. Rib Grips, empowering you to push forward with ease. Rib Grips. Get a grip on your freedom. Discover the difference. Visit ribgrips.com and use promo code GRIP today. You just found the perfect product that helps with staying cool during hot summer runs. No more gross warm water. Stay cool with this product from Gear Handle. This hydration tube cover helps keep your water cool and easily accessible. Stay hydrated during those long summer runs or even delay from freezing in the winter. Plus, they're compatible with various brands of water bladders and come in various colors. Visit gearhandle.com and use promo code H2O today.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Heart of Texas, the trailer park is nice and dark. Deep in the heart of Texas, that drinks his brew and he spits his chew. Deep in the heart of Texas, the TV blares but no one cares. Deep in the heart of Texas, here we go.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Bois, King of the Hill podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Rusty. Bois.
He is every single time.
I signed an email with Matanye.
Yeah.
I had to send an email to Matt. I was, because all the short form content or whatever, I was asking him for like the hard copies of them all so I could use it for TikTok. And I'd signed it with Matanye, Rusty or whatever. Yeah. So he hasn't answered me yet because he's not at work.
No idea
but
what that means.
I want him. I think it's going to be funny. He's going to go to Mike and be like, "What does with Matanye mean, Mike? What is this
language he's speaking?" Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and apologize to all of you. I may have a little bit of a tickle in my throat, a cough.
Ooh.
I got sick. I went to Washington D.C. For a podcast convention, and it was fun. It was great. But I was there for 3 days and got a bunch of sinus stuff, and I lost my voice for 2 days. But getting better, on the mend, taking a bunch of medicine, don't have the plague, so all good. But if my voice sounds different, that's why. All right,
there you go. You heard it here first, y'all.
So breaking news. We're in season 6, episode 12, or in the year of our Lord 6 ABE 07. So at least it's in the same season.
Yeah, it's in the same season.
They're not pulling from the 5th season.
They're not pulling from the 5th season. This would have been, what you said, 7? Yeah, it would have been the 7th episode.
So it got pushed to 12.
Okay.
And this is March 17th, 2002. Are You There, God? It's me, Margaret Hill.
Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret Hill.
And that's a take on that Judy Blume book, right?
Yeah. It's me, Judy.
It's me, Margaret, right? Isn't it Margaret?
I think it is Margaret. Yeah.
Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. Yeah,
Are you there, God?
That's a Judy Blume
It's me,
book.
Margaret.
So we start this sucker in the Hill kitchen. Bobby is on a landline, which you don't see much of anymore.
No, you don't see landlines at all anymore.
He's got one of those long-ass cords coming from the headset or from the handset,
Yeah. They do sell there's devices that you could buy now that is like a Bluetooth connection thing.
But it's like a regular
But you can
handset.
Connect them to regular old handsets.
Mm-hmm.
So say you have like an old novelty phone, like a Garfield or a Power Ranger phone or whatever, you could plug them up to this Bluetooth dongle and it'll forward your phone call to the Bluetooth thing. That way you could use the old handset if you would want to.
We have an old rotary phone here, and I thought about doing that with that for like a call-in line or something. I thought that'd be kind of cool to have that
would be
phone.
fun.
If it would actually ring, it'd be even
That
better.
would be fun. Well, the more we do lives, eventually hopefully we'll have an audience big enough to where if we could have at least, if we had 10 or 20 people and two of them called, that would be that would make an episode.
I'd take one call.
You can get an episode out of that.
All right, so we're in the kitchen again. He's got the landline. It's a big old long cord. I remember getting one of these gigantic cords like that. I thought it was a big deal because you could go into another room.
You can go anywhere you want.
The problem with
Dang,
these,
you must have tripped out when the wireless one came out. Then
the problem with these was they would always wind up together and get all bunched up.
Yeah, they were held to untangle. There's times where you'd go to clean out the electronics or whatever, all the old stuff. Like my dad did it a few years back, where he went through all the not the stuff that had value, obviously, but all the because there's so much useless, like a beeper. What you gonna do with a beeper? Right. Like I'm sure there's some beeper aficionado out there that collects beepers. They're still carrying beepers. I could see
still
that,
carry beepers,
but that's like an in-house network.
Well, the
thing,
issue,
right?
yes. So the issue is that cell signals don't always reach where they're at.
Okay,
but the beeper signals work on an internal system.
So it's all like in-house thing. I got
nuts.
That is kind of crazy. Yeah,
it'd be like me saying, "Yeah, I got to go to the DMV, but I'm going to send a fax first or something."
Yeah, I'm going to send a fax.
I don't know who's sending faxes still.
Doctor's offices to pharmacies.
Yeah, see, I think that's BS also.
I think it's kind of crazy too. Not every doctor's office, mind you, but they're still like I guess it's the guys that are probably like now at the very end of their doctor careers.
Could be.
They're like, 70-year-old doctors, late 60s-year-old doctors.
Sure.
I don't think there's any doctor that's in their 30s that's still sending faxes.
I don't know. It seems like it's it doesn't even seem like it's the doctor. It seems like it's the office.
Oh, the office.
Yeah.
I just don't see how that's efficient.
How old your bookkeeping is, or whatever.
I wonder if it's more efficient than computers, though.
Well, I don't know.
Because what happens when the computers mess up? Because here recently, my brother had he got his teeth redone, where he got like permanent. I don't know what they call them.
Like
whatever
implants.
It is.
They're
like an implant. And he got all his top teeth ripped out, and they put implants in. And I was his intermediary, getting him home and getting him his medicine and all that stuff. And they had an issue at the doctor's office where I called the doctor, and then the doctor was like, well, it's nothing on our end. And I called the pharmacy, and the pharmacy said, well, we haven't got this yet. And I was like, I'm calling back and forth with them, and they were like, well, it's not on our end. So it took me like 2 or 3 times, and I finally called the doctor back, and I was like, send a fax.
Yeah.
Like, send Morse code, send a pigeon. The dude is like, he was so delirious in pain, he doesn't even remember leaving the doctor's office. He doesn't remember like 5 hours after the doctor's office because of the amount of pain he was in.
It's those videos you see, like, Daniel after the dentist and all that stuff.
Yeah, except for he wasn't loopy. He was just like,
he was just in pain.
Take me home.
So it's breakfast time. Hank's in there with some coffee. Bobby's on the phone, and you overhear Bobby saying, Connie, can you hear me? Joseph, can you hear me? Joseph, can you hear Connie? Connie, can you hear Joseph?
Yeah.
He goes, people, we have conference calling. I mean, he's just so excited about the fact that they've got a 3-way call going on. Peggy,
that's kind of crazy. They had 3-way calling for longer than they've had wireless phones. I don't remember party lines. Yeah. My mom and my dad both remember party lines, and their party line stories are funny because they're totally different. So my grandpa in England, he was a pretty wealthy businessman, so he had designed trains. He's actually got train designs in the train museum in Manchester.
Okay.
But he
you've given me 2 pieces of information there that I did not have before.
Yeah.
1, he designed trains. 2, there's a train museum in Manchester.
There's a train museum in Manchester. Okay, so his party line thing was he had a party line at first, and he was doing his business through that line too.
Yeah.
So his neighbor, who my mom said he absolutely, she said, I don't know if they were best friends or they hated each other.
Yeah. There's a fine line there.
But the neighbor was always jumping on the party line while he was in the middle of business calls and ear hustling.
Yeah.
And he would have to end the business call, and he got tired of doing that. So he had a friend at the phone company, and he was probably one of the first people in that entire
to get like a regular
area
line?
To have 2 lines.
Oh, wow.
No, he had 2 lines. So they
rich.
They ran him a whole other line for his business because he could never have a good, honest business conversation.
Somebody just picks up.
And my dad, he remembers being a little kid and hearing the party line ring.
Yeah.
And he would go and sit by the phone, and he would ear hustle on people's conversations.
Oh, yeah,
He remembers sitting there listening into what the neighbors and stuff were talking about.
I think it was my grandparents that had one of those. You would pick up the phone, and there'd already be somebody talking, and you're like, oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. So you gotta wait till they're done so you can make a call out.
Yeah. Okay, and then after that we had modems. So modems would interrupt your, or whatever.
Yeah.
Somebody picks up the phone while your modem's sending stuff.
While you're on the
It'll
internet,
screw up
screw your whole internet connection
screw it
up.
all up. All right, so Peggy comes in and she goes, Bobby Hill, put that phone down. School could be calling me to sub any minute. Bobby hangs it up and he looks really sad, like way sadder than he should. She says, what if an algebra teacher died in a car accident, huh? It'd be a tragedy if they couldn't reach me.
Wow.
Not that wreck. It's just that they couldn't reach her.
The ego on this one.
Yeah.
Man.
The phone rings.
I like Peggy-centric episodes sometimes.
Phone rings. Peggy answers.
It's been a while.
She says, Peggy Hill, Education Solutions. That's the first time I've ever heard her say that.
Is that
I guess that's her.
That the contracting company that contracts her out, or is that?
I think it's just a little LLC she made up.
She might have,
without any
I
paperwork
imagine
or anything.
She has an LLC, and she just says she has an LLC, and all it is a certificate that she printed off the internet that says LLC on it. And it's literally
it's Luann's little company.
Yeah, there you go.
There's your LLC.
But it's just a piece of paper, and it has my LLC.
That's right.
On
That's
it.
right.
Yeah.
I wrote it and I mailed it to myself, and that's all I have to do.
And she hands it to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is my LLC.
Have you seen my LLC? So Peggy Hill, Education Solutions, she listens for a second. She goes, I am on my way. She hangs up the phone, and then she literally just crosses her arms, stands there, and goes, uh-huh. Like she proved her point to her son and her husband
and
that they need to stay off the damn phone.
And herself more than
it's
anything.
Insane.
Yeah, she's nuts.
All right, so we're in the class, and she's
what
writing.
Can you do with somebody that insane, though? Like, insufferable.
So she's in the class, and obviously she's gotten pulled to an elementary class this time because the kids are pretty small.
Yeah,
she's writing
younger class.
Yeah.
Well, the last time she was with a younger class, she kidnapped a poor little Hispanic girl.
It's true. It's true. So she's writing on the board. She goes, I am your substitute teacher, Mrs. Peggy Hill, and you are in for a treat from my friend. And she puts on a ball cap with hair on it.
Yeah.
She goes, Benjamin Franklin.
And you know what? Like, I know that Peggy's insufferable, and I know she's a jackass.
Yeah.
But let's give her one redeeming quality. As a substitute teacher,
oh yeah,
she takes that
she
job
tries so hard,
more serious than the actual teachers. And maybe she doesn't take it more serious than them, but she definitely tries harder than they do. Because I have never had a substitute teacher come on in a bald cap.
No.
I've had teachers come in bald with a wig on, but never with a bald cap on.
Yeah, she's playing a character.
There was
which is kind of cool, honestly.
Terrible story to tell, but like there was a older substitute we had when we were younger, and without fail, once a year, some jackass kid would pull her wig off and run out the class with it.
Ass.
It was funny as a kid.
Sure.
It's jackassery now,
yeah,
but as a kid, that shit was hilarious.
So she puts on the bald cap. She goes, Benjamin Franklin. And then she starts in. She's got a kite, the whole thing. She goes, it was a cloudy day. And I decided that I would, and then the door opens. The class says, morning, Miss Bonter. And she says, morning, class. Miss Bonter comes over and goes, sorry to drag you out of the house, Peggy. The cable guy came early. She goes, Peggy, I'm Benjamin Franklin. Well, no, you're not. So the teacher comes over and whispers to her, you'll still get paid. She goes, I do not do this for the money, Erica, although I wouldn't mind getting reimbursed for the wig. She gets a little sad. She starts to
she's
leave.
down a little bit.
And then she runs back in with the wig on and goes, a penny saved, a penny earned. And looks at the teacher and goes, try and follow that. Like, she's just such an ass.
Yeah, well, you know what, Peggy? You should have tried going to college. You should have tried getting your teacher's certificate. In the state of Texas, it's not that hard.
Not that hard.
Not only is it not that hard, it's even easier now. Or around the COVID time, it was even easier because they were taking teachers that were uncertified.
That's how I got into teaching. It was an emergency certification. They were so short on teachers that they hired me because I was already in a certification program, but I haven't started yet.
Did you ever get your certification?
So I was getting my certification as I was teaching.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have a certification in
interdisciplinary
4
studies
areas. Like I've got art, business. I've got a principal certification if I ever want to be a principal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
I've got like a
So you
couple
learn
of,
something new every day.
I got a couple of tech ones so that I can
okay.
teach like the physics and rockets and robots and stuff like that.
Yeah, my kids roll into robots.
Yeah. Okay, so now we've got Peggy at home after this debacle. It is night and it is storming. It's starting to get real cloudy and storm, and there's a bunch of lightning.
It is. It's
She
definitely
is out,
cloudy and stormy.
She's out in the backyard in her bald cap, flying a kite, because she's being Benjamin Franklin, I guess.
You know the real story behind that?
Yeah.
Benjamin Franklin bought that apparatus or whatever, the kite and the key, off of a guy that had already tried it.
Oh, wow.
And Benjamin Franklin was scared of it at first, so he had his son go out there and do it.
Oh, God.
And it was really just
too, right?
it was really just it wasn't a discovery of electricity. It was just like a demonstration of it. I think they already had like a concept of like static electricity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a concept of like harnessing the electricity. And it's funny because we think about it now, like we'll flick a light switch, we'll turn a lamp on. But in the early days of electricity, they would, it was only for the rich, obviously.
Right.
But rich people would hire people specifically to flick the light switch on and turn the lamp on because they were terrified that they would either get shocked or there was some type
think
of
about it. It's
radiant energy
Yeah.
that was coming off of it that would give them cancer or whatever. So
I don't know.
I
that
think
they
it's
knew about
hilarious.
Cancer yet, but
They've had
they thought that a soul would enter their body. Or
whatever
a
it is.
demon
Yeah, they thought it
come
would
out
make
of a
them
wall
sick or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an affront to the Lord.
Yeah.
So she's out there flying her keys on a kite in a storm with a bald wig on in the backyard. Bobby comes riding by with Joseph. Come on, faster! I don't know where the hell they're going.
Not yet,
he
anyway.
says here in a second. But they stop real quick. She goes, Bobby, how would you like to fly a kite and learn the key to electricity? She's always got to have some kind of thing. He goes, no.
Yeah.
Bobby says, no time. Word is there's a truckload of dead chickens floating down the river. I hope we're not too late. And they ride off.
Y'all never had anything like that happen as a kid where somebody came over and was like, hey, man, we saw a dead dog down the street,
Oh.
and everybody rides to look at the dead dog?
We had a bridge with a little it's not even a river. It was just water that ran underneath it, you know, under Old
Like a little
Robinson Road.
creek, that creek over there.
And we would
yeah.
go down there all the time, and we'd go crawdadding, and we'd find a bunch of wet pornography and all kinds of stuff. You know, so we hung out under the bridge a lot. All right, so she goes. She's a little disappointed, but she continues to fly the kite. The wind picks up, flies the kite away, and she goes, "My keys!" Like she literally had her house keys.
Her house keys
tied
are,
to the damn. God Almighty.
Yeah,
so it
she's
flies
thicker
away.
than a white oak.
Oh my God! It flies away. She's a little she's disappointed. She goes up to go in the back door. The back door is locked, and so she's just like, "Damn!" And it starts raining on her. Bill, of course, sees this because he's always watching.
Opportunist.
He's the ultimate creeper. He says, "If you're
Well,
locked,
is it creepy or is it opportunism?
it's creepy.
It's creepy.
You're standing on your front porch, looking at somebody else in their backyard, watching what they're doing, and then commenting whenever they." Have an issue. I mean, you were watching the whole time.
Yeah,
And you're
creepy.
watching a grown woman with giant feet with a bald cap on out flying a kite in
well, if the
rain.
theory is true, she's raising his son.
That's true.
No, I'm just
That's
kidding.
true. It could be.
Well, that theory is debunked because if you look at the way GH looks and the way Bobby looked as a baby, they look identical
Yeah, they do.
twins.
They look exactly like. But Bill says, "Hey, if you're locked out, you can stay at my house until Hank gets home. We could rent a movie." She goes, "It's all right. I'll just sit here until the wind blows my keys back."
Yeah.
Like that's gonna happen. All right, so now we see at Strickland Propane, people are losing their ever-loving minds. They're running around because it's storming, it's raining.
And it's not. It's like an exceptional storm. It's like a big windstorm.
Yeah, it's a
Kinda
big
like the other
windstorm,
day.
lots of rain.
It was kind of funny. We had just sat down to watch the Twisters movie because it
Yeah.
finally released to where you could watch it at the
Saw
house.
that, yeah.
And we're sitting there watching it. The first sequence of the bad tornado and all this stuff
Hi, I'm Glenn
finishes.
Powell. This is a tornado.
And as soon as it finishes, everything kicks up. Like I could hear.
Oh, outside?
Like I had the front door open, looking through the glass door.
Yeah.
And the wind had picked up, and the whole world went orange because all the dust in the air and everything. And I was like, "What the hell's going on?" Twisters.
I like how you say the whole world. So we're in front
the
of
whole world went orange.
We're in front of Strickland. There's rain coming down. People are losing their minds. They got their coats over their heads and stuff. And Hank's out there. He says, "All right, people, save the Imperials first." There's a sign out front that says Strickland Propane sale
The
on
Char Kings.
all grills.
Yeah.
Taste the meat.
Taste
And
the
he
meat,
goes,
not the heat.
"This is when heroes are made." And he's standing. I mean, he's all proud with his hands by his side, directing his people.
We should start a grill company and call it Char King. We should really start Char
No.
King. We could.
I don't want to make grills.
The Imperial.
I'm good. So Buck drives up, gets out. "Hank, bad news. Just figured out who's been stealing office supplies. It's Donna. Found them in her bedroom." Found him in her bedroom.
Good detective work, sir.
Hank says good detective work. Yeah. The thing I love about this is that Buck has an umbrella and Hank's just standing there getting wet. I mean, just getting so wet.
So
he goes,
it's like the celebrities who are walking with like the people they pay to walk with them, and they're sitting there getting drenched.
He goes, good detective work, sir. He goes, yeah, well, I was getting tired of her anyway. So it looks like you just got to find us a new Donna. Make sure you find one that didn't always asking, what are you thinking about? And then he walks off. Now we're back at the Hill House. Peggy is drying off her hair. Looks like she just got out of the shower. Hank's hair is the craziest I've ever seen it. And it's because it all got wet and he dried it off with a towel and then just kind of left it. And so it's just all over the place. It looks like Dragon Ball Z hair or something. It's just nuts.
He's going Super Saiyan.
He is going Super Saiyan. Well, he does kind of in hell here in a minute. She says, it was my first call in 3 months. Damn antibacterial soap. Nobody's getting sick anymore. Well, there's a pandemic coming, Peggy. Just wait.
There is.
She goes, I shouldn't have to sneeze in the faculty lounge coffee machine just to get a chance to teach. It is beneath me.
There's like two things going around right now.
Oh, I don't know.
They shut down a school in the area. I can't remember what school it was. They shut them down for COVID because there wasn't enough teachers to teach. Everybody was out sick with COVID. And then there was another thing I was reading about. There was like a curfew in a town in Massachusetts.
Really?
Because it was spreading so fast throughout this small neighborhood that they had to put a curfew because people were just still going out while everybody was being sick. And then there was a school that shut down, I think, in California or somewhere on the West Coast for monkeypox.
Monkeypox. Fantastic. Hank looks at her and says, hey, Peggy, how'd you like to come to work with me at Strickland? She goes, thank you, but no. He goes, come on, it'd be fun. You and me working side by side at Strickland Propane. This could be fate talking. We don't fire Buck's mistresses every day.
Wow.
I mean, I just love the fact that he knows it was a mistress. You know, that tells you a lot about how Hank views Buck. He sees all of the stuff and still reveres him the way he does.
He does. The thing I like most about Buck Strickland, though, is the LBJ-esqueness to him.
Oh, yeah.
That's my favorite part about him is how much he feels like LBJ.
So Peggy says, but I wouldn't be teaching. I would be doing. And I wasn't substitute doer of the year 3 years in a row. And then she pauses for a second. She goes, oh, I see where I'm going with this. She had to catch herself up in her brain as to what she was talking about.
Yeah, she didn't even know what she was talking about.
She goes, I see where I'm going with this. It's time for me to find and accept a full-time teaching position.
She just talks.
Oh, God. She just opens her mouth and shit just flies out. He goes, oh, just come on to Strickland, Peggy. Come on. Come on. Come on. He's like he's getting all weird with it.
Yeah, he wants her to work there.
She goes, Hank, this obviously means a lot to you, so I will make a promise I know I will not have to keep. So if I cannot find a full-time job, I will come to work with you at Strickland. Oh, great. I'll put in the paperwork for a coffee mug with your name on it.
I'll put in the paperwork for a coffee mug. That's a great line. I'll put in the paperwork for a coffee mug.
He goes, worst case scenario, it'll be your Christmas present. I mean, man, what a Christmas, huh?
What a husband.
What a great Christmas.
Worst case scenario? That's not what you're supposed to tell your wife.
No. All right, so
you're supposed to say, best case scenario, you get the job you want and start paying your own way, woman.
Best case scenario, I get you a big diamond.
There you go.
We're at Tom Landry Middle School. She goes into Principal Moss's office. She goes, Principal Moss, I have great news. I am ready to teach full-time. That's right, from 9 to 3, 5 days a week, 35 weeks a year. She's really committing to something there.
Yes, she is.
Principal Moss says, would if I could, Peggy, but we're in the middle of a statewide hiring freeze. Well, surely they have to make exceptions. If you want, I'd be glad to forward this resume to the governor. To the governor.
The governor. I wonder who was governor. Bush.
Yeah,
Bush
probably.
was governor.
Yeah, he was because he was shaking hands all limpy.
Because he was after he was right after Ann Richards.
Uh-huh.
And he was governor all the way until he became president.
He says, sorry. Good luck, Peggy. Just sends her on her way. Now we see a couple of teachers and some kids going through the Heimlich County Museum of Natural History. All the dinosaur bones around and all that kind of stuff. And the teacher is leading the class through and goes, and this class is a stegosaurus, which is, and then you hear Peggy from off screen. She goes, which is Latin for covered lizard. I don't think it is. And just because his name is Osaurus, it does not make him Irish. And then just laughs so hard at her own joke.
That's
funny. She pops down. Like, I've never seen her hop. Like, she was on top of the thing with the dinosaurs, and then she's oomph, like hops down like it was so weird. She hands resumes to both of them and goes, and my resume for you, I'm very good. I also teach Spanish as well as math, grades 4 and under. and then she walks off. Like
Yeah.
that is her idea of oh my God, we found this woman. It's fate. She just hopped off a dinosaur and she's going to come teach for us.
She was actually right. I just looked that up.
Oh, really? It means covered lizard?
Covered lizard means
Oh, wow.
Stegosaurus or roof lizard because of the large row of bony plates that ran along its back. So yeah, I guess she was.
I've
she
known
was
a lot
correct.
of guys with large rows of bony plates.
Yeah.
Then we see her. She's going through the newspaper and she's crossing things out for jobs. Right? She's in the classifieds. Classifieds were something that were in the newspaper a long time ago. Kids.
They still have them.
Three days a week here.
They're just classified.
Yeah. That's why you can't find them.
That's why you
They're
can't find them.
classified.
Yeah, it's state secret.
So she's Xing things out. She's circling other things, and she runs across one in the obituaries, and she circles it. She's like, oh, she thinks she's going to get the job of a teacher that just died. Now,
it's funny. She circled the obituary.
Oh my God.
Teacher died. Okay, what school is that? Okay, we'll circle that.
Next thing we see, she's at the
Jackass.
damn funeral, standing next to the casket. They're doing the funeral, and the guy says, "We have learned so much from her here on earth, and I know she'll continue teaching up in heaven. Amen." And everybody says amen. Birds are chirping in the background. Everybody goes by the coffin. You know how they drop the flowers on top of the coffin. Peggy takes one and puts it on her lapel.
That's
and
awful.
She walks up to the guy and goes, "Beautiful words, Principal. Very, very moving. Have you filled a position yet?" He goes, "She retired 10 years ago." She says, "Oh, well, your obituary is very misleading," and then throws the flower back down on the thing and walks off.
That's rough.
What a dick. All right, so
That's bad. That's I don't know. That's as scummy as it gets.
It's pretty
That's
rough.
pretty scummy.
All right, we're back at
Peggy's a jackass.
We're back at Strickland, and we see Peggy.
How does Hank, like a guy who is of outstanding moral character, be with a woman who does so many immoral things?
I had that same thought when it comes up with the nun thing here in a minute. I was
Yeah,
like,
just
how does he even get along with
just
that?
the whole situation, and then he has to like dig her out of these holes.
I mean, I guess at a certain point, you're just like, this is just who she is, and you just go do your thing.
Or divorce.
I don't know, man.
Like,
I don't think he would ever think that.
Is that the headache that you need? Like at some point, your peace has to take priority at some point.
So we see Peggy, and she says, "Okay, then I suppose we should start with lesson 1." And then it pulls out, and we see that she's at Strickland. Hank's got a VCR and a TV there, and he's showing her, I guess, training materials for working at the propane factory. He goes, "Lesson 1. This is the Wagner Char King." Then he walks over to another one. "This is the Char King Imperial." She just goes, ugh. He goes, "I almost forgot. You are hereby requisitioned these Strickland propane pins. These can never, ever leave the office." And he gives her 3 pins. He goes, "Sorry to be a spoil sport, but Donna ruined it for everybody." Buck walks up and says, "Hey, Peggy, welcome aboard." And he looks at Hank and he goes, "You told her about the pins, right?" And she goes, "Yes, I am aware of the pins." Now, I did write a note here. That scene is very reminiscent of the scene in Office Space, where they come up and ask him about his TPS reports and did he get that memo and all that kind of stuff. It's almost the exact same scene, but it's with pins and Hank. She goes, "I'm very aware of the pin situation." Hank says, "Just so you don't hear it from anyone else, I'm sleeping with the new employee." He
thought that was funny. Good. Yeah, that was a good joke, Hank.
Yeah. Buck says, "Hank, we got a code green. They're running low on propane at the Whataburger." This is when they still called it Whataburger. Hank says, "Actually, that's a code yellow, sir." "Yeah, whatever. It's your dumb system. You go figure it out."
He don't give a shit, yeah.
He walks off, and Hank says, "Peggy, we're going out on our first propane run. Get your jacket and hat. Heck, get your camera." It just amazes me how excited he gets about this stuff.
Yeah, and then the next line's husband and wife selling propane together.
Yeah,
it's like something out of the movies. Like what a cheese ball.
Well, they're both in the truck. They're driving there. Both of them have their hats on. Both of them have their jackets on. They are all.
I could think of nothing worse than having to work with your significant other all day.
Yeah, some people can do it. I don't think I could.
I don't think I would want to. Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
I want you to listen to this sentence when I say it and pick out what happened. Okay. I worked with my second wife at the video stores.
Okay.
Now, what happened there?
She's the second.
She's the second wife. That's right. She's not the current wife.
She's the second.
That's exactly
not the
right.
Current.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. You win.
Did she like movies?
You want a new Buick? She don't like anything. She
didn't like nothing.
No,
yeah, that's the problem. Is if somebody don't like nothing, there's nothing you can do to ever please them.
That was
and
rough.
if you can't please them, it's game over.
We had 3 little video stores for a while, and I don't know. She checked out pretty early. All right, so we're at the Whataburger in the parking lot, and they are unloading tanks. They're getting the dolly out, and they're moving tanks around. Hank says, when you lift, always remember to use your legs. She goes, I know, because it might be a few minutes. Tony, the managers, probably want to talk about his new grease traps. And then he trucks off some of those tanks on his dolly. She is still there, and she's like popping her back, trying to, because I'm assuming the tanks are heavy or whatever. And this lady walks up, and she goes, Peggy Hill. She goes, oh, well, hello, Claire. And the lady says, Strickland Propane, have you gotten out of the teaching game? Peggy goes, oh, no, Claire, quite the opposite. I've decided to teach full time. In fact, I'm doing a location scout for field trips. That's not a thing, but all right.
Yeah, that's she location scouting. I don't even think there was that much planning in field trips anyway.
She looks at Claire and goes, okay, just a minute. And then she looks around this empty parking lot. There's nothing. You just see a couple of shopping carts in the Whataburger, and she goes, nope, this parking lot is no good. So what are you doing here? like that covered it all up. She says, my cousin got me an interview for a teaching job over at St. Ignatius. And she points over, and the church is in the same parking lot. It amazes me how many things are close to each other here in Arlen. She goes, oh, really? Full time? Well, maybe. She goes, I see you are wearing your harachas. And she shows her, and she's wiggling her toes.
Ignatius means fiery or ardent.
There you go. Fiery, ardent,
full of
Peggy.
passion and enthusiasm. So maybe that is a tongue-in-cheek from the
it could be
from the creators, because here in a little bit there's that scene.
There's a little bit of fire.
Where there's a little bit of fire.
She goes, is it a teaching position for Espanol? She goes, es possible. Wish me luck. And she leaves. And then Peggy, being the devious villain that she is, she looks like a comic strip villain or whatever. And she goes,
yeah,
it's Spanish. Like she's putting her fingers together and the whole thing. It's
like
Spanish.
Man, I don't know why I can't think of his name. Mr.
Luthor.
Burns. Mr. Burns.
Yeah, like Mr. Burns, Lex Luthor, any of that stuff.
Mr. Burns is my favorite one. That
Yeah, he's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Hank comes back with the dolly. It's empty. He's giving the tanks, and she says, Hank, I thought you might, maybe I could show you some initiative and canvass the area with Strickland flyers. He goes, oh, you remind me of a young me. Just a little tip. I like to put them face down. That way, when they get in the driver's seat, bam, there it is. Great tip, Hank.
Yeah, that would just piss me off. I would turn the windshield wipers on with water and turn it into a spitball.
So we see that.
I hate that. Like, I don't like
Oh,
it's
no.
I don't really mind being handed a pamphlet, but I hate when they leave stuff on your car, because that means they had to touch your car, and like not everybody has the same discretion and strength when they're pulling up your windshield wipers.
Yeah.
So I'm always afraid that somebody's going to be cranking on it and they're going to break your windshield wiper or something.
No, I don't think I've ever bought anything that was left under my windshield wiper. I
don't think I've attended any event,
ever happened.
bought anything. It's just like those guys that try to, and it happens a lot when I'm in Austin.
Yeah.
Cologne salesman. He's
Cologne salesman.
Yeah, I was at a. It's kind of like
Noir.
It's kind of like a boutique little tiny grocery convenience store thing. They sold some food items and beer and wine and stuff. And when I came out, the guy was like, well, what kind of cologne do you use? And I was like, I'm allergic to cologne. I don't use cologne because I can't breathe if I use it. It'll make me sneeze my ass off. Sure. And he was like, well, this here is hypoallergenic and all that. I was like, man, I have
hypoallergenic cologne.
I can smell however I want. I'm 30. I don't have to worry about I'm not a 15-year-old kid layering himself in Axe.
Don't need any Axe body spray. Don't need any of that. Hank drives off in the truck. Peggy has a big old stack of flyers, and she immediately just throws them in the dumpster.
Yeah.
And then she runs over to St. Ignatius. There is a banner up at St. Ignatius that says, as she's walking down the hall, there's like one of the pep rally banners, and it says, Show Our Lady of Sorrows no mercy. Which is a little intense, honestly.
Show her no mercy.
She's walking through the hall.
Cage match.
She walks by a nun Mason's out there watching a wrestling pay-per-view right now.
That's what he was telling me. I was like, what are you doing? He said, I'm watching All In. I was like, AEW?
He asked me, he was like, is it okay if I watch this here? I was like, I don't care, man. As long as you get your stuff done. I don't care.
Nah, wrestling's awesome.
So
that English guy hasn't connected with me yet.
Oh, okay.
Did you pass him off my information?
I need to get a hold of him then. Yeah, remind me about that this week.
Yeah.
We'll talk to him. Hey, if you're out there, I did not forget about you. Okay, so a nun walks by in the hall. She sees her, just kind of smiles, and then she sees Claire come out of the office, and she goes, "Peggy, what are you doing here?" Peggy, of course, bullshitting, says, "I just wanted to see how your interview went." Bullshit, Peggy. Lady says, "Well, it may have been the best interview of my life, right up until they said that they'd rather hire a nun." By the way, Catholic school. She goes, "Just being celibate isn't enough." Okay, you've told us too much about you at this point, Claire. Just being celibate is too much.
Yeah, just being celibate isn't enough.
She walks off. Peggy goes over to a glass window. She sees these kids in the classroom, puts her hand on the window like she's looking at brand new babies or whatever, and she's just very sad. She continues walking down the hall, and she walks by a guy cleaning out a closet, and it's got a bunch of the nun habits hanging on a rack, right? And so, obviously, she gets an idea. And then we go over to where everybody's being interviewed, and one of the nuns comes out and says, "Who's next?" And you hear, "I am Sister Peggy Hill." And it shows Peggy, and she is dressed like a damn nun.
Which is tough.
Not great. Not a good
look, Peggy Hill. Blasphemy, maybe?
A little bit.
What's the other word?
Wrong? Bad?
No, not wrong. There's a specific word.
Stupid? One of those things?
Heretic.
Yeah. All right,
Very
and that
heretical.
is, we're going to leave Peggy
Heretic.
in her habit. We're going to take a break real quick. And
Heretical,
we'll be
heretic.
Right back.
And we'll be right
heretics.
back.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, I'm April,
Hi, I'm Caroline.
and we have a new podcast for you. What's it called, Caroline?
Bloody Happy Hour.
It's going to be your new favorite guilty pleasure. We're going to talk about some bloody stuff. Serial killers, true crime,
Rape.
rapists. Why not join us? We'll have a good time.
You literally never know. I don't know what I'm going to say. Bloody Happy Hour. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, and we are back. We left Peggy in a nun habit, trying to get a...
It's a bad habit. It's a bad habit to be
She's
in.
dropped that habit.
So I want to just hit a reference while we're right before we dive into this scene. So this is a very referential tie to Sister Act and to King of the Hill. Peggy Hill is obviously voiced by Kathy Najimy.
Yeah.
And she was
in Sister Act.
In Sister Act. She played Sister Mary Patrick in both the 1992 movie and then its sequel, Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit.
Yeah.
So in this, Peggy is a somehow more malicious Whoopi Goldberg. Like Whoopi Goldberg's character, even though she was like a criminal running from gangsters and stuff like that, she seemed more wholesome in her role than what Peggy's doing here. Because Peggy's not proficient in anything. She can't sing. No. She can't help a choir. Because the thing is Whoopi Goldberg can sing, and she helped a choir, and she did this good thing for them, and she helped them realize that they can achieve whatever they want if they just believe in themselves. Yeah. Where Peggy just comes in here for this extremely malicious, self-centered reason. She can't even speak Spanish, and she becomes a full-time Spanish teacher at a Catholic school, which the largest demographic in the United States of Catholics is either expatriates from Ireland or the large Hispanic population. Yeah. So it's just, I think it's a really, really, it's extra shitty of Peggy.
I have never liked Whoopi Goldberg. I don't know why. I don't like her energy somehow, but she used to hang out with Laverne. From Laverne and Shirley. They were like really good friends. And they would end up dressing alike a lot of the time. Like they all had the little tiny glasses, like the little John Lennon glasses. And I just felt like they just felt like a lot. Like they were just too much for me. I couldn't take it.
The only thing that I knew about her actual like
Ted Danson.
That's what I was going to say. The Ted Danson and the New York Friars Club roast where Ted Danson did blackface.
Oh my God.
With Whoopi Goldberg being his wife or girlfriend or whatever she was at the time.
Yeah.
And I
That's
don't know, it's kind of cringe.
Thinking that that's okay.
It was cringe.
It's
it was
just
really
insane.
cringe. Well, I think it was. I think the only reason why that it probably went over a little differently is because she co-signed it. I think it was a publicity stunt thing or a joke thing that they both kind of worked up together and presented it to the world, and it just ended up missing.
If you did that now, you would never work again.
Because Ted Danson was
Ted Danson's still working hard.
He was full-time in Cheers at that point, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's got a brand new show. He did Good Place and all that stuff.
Yeah,
He's done a bunch of stuff. He did Becker, which went on forever.
Well, he still got work, but
he's got
Whoopi Goldberg and somebody else didn't get renewed for The View or whatever.
Because they're expensive and they're terrible.
They're oh man, they just need to retire.
But he's got a new show that's made with Mike Shore. The same guy who did The Good Place and worked on The Office and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He's got a brand new one. Yeah,
which
I'm looking forward to that. I do like Ted Danson. He's an idiot, but I like him.
I'm looking forward to my sister said there's some docudrama about Wyatt Earp's life on Netflix, some new docudrama.
There's a cowboy docudrama. Like it goes over what cowboys really were. It's Ed Harris that does all the vocals.
Cool.
Yeah, it looks pretty good, honestly. They tell you the true story of cowboys, which has nothing to do with this show.
Which also has nothing to do with what you would perceive as a cowboy to be. It actually used to be a derogatory term to be called a cowboy.
Yeah.
It used to be a derogatory term because, of course, white people used to call black people boy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And even still today, if you call a black person boy, they really, like, a black guys do not like that at all.
Yeah.
But I don't blame them. No. But cowboys were called boys all the time, and then it becomes such a manly thing that, again, white people they
were cow rustlers.
Patriated
they
to
were
themselves.
Rustlers. That's what cowboys were.
Yeah.
You know. Okay, so we're in the interview, and she is sitting across. Peggy is sitting across in her habit across from Mother Superior, and Mother Superior says, "So, may I see your resume?" Oh, well, my resume is written on the smiling faces of the children of El Salvador, where I did my most recent nunning. So she just starts off with a big-ass lie. Like, she tells her that she worked with kids in El Salvador. I mean, that is – it's
You're
not –
lying to a nun.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not that she just put on the habit and pretended to be a nun.
Now she's lying.
She's got a big-ass lie that she starts this whole thing with.
And it's a little one, and then it just kind of snowballs and rolls downhill here.
And then Mother Superior says, "You know what? I have free international calling on my cellular telephone." I love that she calls it a cellular telephone.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't I just give him a little jingle jangle and get a reference? She starts to dial it, and Peggy's like, "Oh, yes, that would be great, except my order just took a permanent vow of silence. And if you ask me, not a moment too soon, huh? Yakety yak, yak, yak." Mother Superior says, "Sister Peggy, this school could really use a teacher with your qualifications, but I'm afraid." She stops her and goes, "Mother Superior, do you know what a calling is?" Like, how does she not know what a calling is? She looks at her like she's dumbfounded.
A nun, yeah.
And she goes, "All of my life, I've had a calling to teach. This is my life's work." Mother Superior says, "But without a resume or references," she says, "I do come with a reference. The best there is. He doesn't have a telephone or a fax, but I believe he is listed in the book." And she pats the Bible.
Praise be.
Yikes. All right, so it is the we get
go for it. Are they completely done with Handmaid's Tale? I wonder, because that was such a good show. Did you ever watch that show?
Very good show, yeah. I don't know.
What was the other one they did that was really good? Harlots. Those are two shows that me and my wife watched. Hey, check Harlots out. I think you would like it. Yeah. I mean, if you like voluptuous breasts, you'll definitely like that show because they wear it. It's a show about harlots.
Oh, is it the
in medieval
like
times,
18th century
or 17th, Victorian?
16th,
I think it's like
Victorian. There you
late
go.
or early Victorian era.
Yeah.
But it's all these prostitutes or whatever, and it's about that underground world and how they protected each other and how accepted it was, not necessarily how accepted it was, but how accepted it was behind doors, and then how much shit they get in public. Like all these rich guys come and they take all these prostitutes to these big, huge parties with them, and it's just like these big, orgies or whatever. Yeah. And then the girls go back to their hovel or whatever where they all live together in this brothel, and they get like society just constantly shits on them. but it's the rich guys that are coming and paying for sex, and it's
sure.
It's a really weird dynamic in the show, but it's a really good show.
So we're at the Hill House at night.
Not that has anything to do with King of the Fucking
Hill.
Hill.
You're good. We're sitting there, and Peggy is watching Monsignor Martinez.
Monsignor Martinez.
There's a nun with a gun on two guys. There's a whole bunch of action. He kicks the gun.
Nun with a
takes
gun.
the mask off of the guy who's pretending to be Monsignor Martinez, and then the nun runs up and hugs him, and he literally pulls out the gun. The guy's on the ground. And he just goes bam, just shoots him as he's on the ground.
Actually,
just takes him out.
Before we recorded this, I was talking to a buddy, and we were talking about how it seems like in a lot of there's a lot of thematic elements in movies sometimes in like action movies where you'll have some attachment to the church with guns, like Dawn of the, what is it? Is it Day of the Dead? The one with George Clooney and Salma Hayek. And
oh no, that's
the
vampire one. That's
man. I hate that I don't know the name of it.
Yeah, it's made by Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez.
Whatever that's called. You have
From
like
Dusk Till Dawn.
Dusk Till Dawn. That's what it's called. You have like the priest who has the gun.
Movies. It
is
two
two
separate
movies.
movies.
It is two separate movies. Yeah. But you have that part where like the priest does the blessing and the priest does all the killing.
Yeah, sure.
And then we were talking about how the Boondock Saints, how like you could, how they're kind of like. To him, he was just like, they're just Irish.
Guns, right? Like
they had it on their guns.
Yeah.
Well, he was like, well, they're just Irish and they're Catholic. And I said, yeah, but I think it's a little like, my perspective, I guess, is a little deeper. To me, they're like two fallen angels that are there to do like this violent, like, justice for God. They're like there is like violent punishment from God kind of thing is what like I saw about this. So we were talking about how this kind of has like the Monsieur Martinez guy kind of tickles that trope.
It does very much so.
I still wish they would have the live action show.
And oh boy,
we got to do that. Have we done that yet?
Every damn
Have we
time.
done that? I think we've never done that for an episode where we watch the clip.
We talked about it, but I don't think we've ever watched.
We should watch the clip live. Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
So he ends it by saying "Vaya con Dios," and then he does the sign of the cross.
Vaya con Dios,
and then
she
does it because she's going up, down, left, right, up, down, left, like she's practicing it.
It sounds like a cheat code for a game. Up, down, left, right, up, down, left, right.
Yeah, it's the Konami code. So Hank comes in. He's got the whole stack of flyers.
He's pissed
in the living room, and he goes, "Peggy, someone found these flyers in a dumpster. Now I have a hard time imagining that their windshields collected them into a neat pile and threw them away. Call me cynical." Peggy says, "Well, yes, I may have advertently, not inadvertently, I may have advertently thrown them away. I'm a terrible Strickland employee, and I quit." He goes, "Quit? Well, I was just going to let you off with a warning and monitor your performance." She says, "Hank, I have great news. I just got my dream job teaching Spanish full-time at St. Ignatius Catholic School." He goes, "But you already have a dream job, junior grill associate at Strickland Propane." She says the craziest sentence now. She goes,
"It is."
She goes, "Hank, I am thrilled with me. Why can't you be?"
Yeah, that's such a crazy sentence for sure. I've never heard that.
He goes, "Okay, fine. Go teach. Propane sells itself. Doesn't need you." Now we go over to St. Ignatius. Peggy is dressed as a nun. She's at the head of the class. You hear a bell go off, and then the class says, "Buenos dias," or she says, "Buenos dias, mi llamo Mrs." Oh, and she erases it real quick. She had written Mrs. on the thing, and she goes, "Sister Peggy, a nun." She has to literally tell him that she is a nun.
She's got to tell herself that she's a nun.
Yeah,
she has to reaffirm it because if she doesn't, she'll forget the character she's playing right now, and she'll end up slipping up. Let's hope she doesn't kidnap a room full of children.
She says she holds up a book, and she goes, "Can anyone tell me what this is?" And they repeat it in Spanish. She holds up a pencil and asks what it is. They repeat it in Spanish. Then she holds up a ruler and asks what it is, and all the kids are like, "Oh," because the whole trope is that nuns come and smack you with the ruler.
Knuckles,
yeah,
which at one point in time it wasn't nuns; it was everybody. You're getting your knuckles beat on by all the teachers.
She says, "Oh, children, the only one who should be afraid of the ruler." And she pulls out a pinata, a donkey pinata. And she goes, "Señor Pinata," and then she takes that ruler and she slices that donkey's heads off, and that candy goes everywhere, and the kids go running after it. Now we're in the alley with all four guys.
Which is extremely shitty of Peggy in a Spanish class and she brings a piñata for the first
all she
day of
knows.
class.
That's all she knows.
It's like that she's taken all of the things that Texans know about Hispanic culture and throwing them all into one.
Yeah, it's amazing she didn't bring like
thing.
Whataburger taquitos in the first time or something.
Or the El Paso those burritos or whatever they have. I think they're called
even
El
worse,
Monterey.
like the little 59-cent burritos.
The El Monterey ones. Yeah.
Now we're in the alley and we've got all 4 guys and it's in the morning and they're drinking coffee, which is weird to see.
That is weird to see.
You don't see them handling coffee mugs a lot.
No. I imagine though that they're those. They have the coffee on the timer, and they wake up and they can smell coffee as they're waking up.
I have coffee on a timer, so.
Well, I do too, but you know what I mean. Like, I think it comes with age.
Yeah.
I used to just wake up and get coffee on the go at a gas station.
I do not like it when I have to make the coffee first thing in the morning.
I don't like it. I don't like having to generally make anything.
I don't mind making the coffee.
Food
It's
tastes
just
horrible when you make it. Like anything I make for myself,
really
tastes horrible to me.
Man,
I can cook good, but I just don't like eating things that I create
the best
myself.
Fried egg sandwich. Ooh, buddy.
I like food to me tastes better when I don't have to make it.
Yeah. Well, I get that part. Yeah. Dale says, okay, my turn. Tongue kiss a lizard or take a shower in Bill's bathroom. Hank says, lizard. Boomhauer said, lizard, man. And Bill says, why is the other choice always take a shower in Bill's bathroom?
It's funny though. Tongue kiss a lizard, take a shower in Bill's bathroom.
Take a shower in Bill's bathroom. So you see Peggy come out. She goes, adios. If I'm home late, it's because my new students are so engrossed that they will not let me leave. She pauses for a second and goes, yep, I'll be home late. She is just so proud of herself.
Yeah, super
at
proud.
every turn. She's got a one of those clothes bags with her, like you put a suit coat in or something, and I'm assuming that's where her habit is.
Yeah.
Hank says, well, I'm going to be home on time like always because Strickland is a well-oiled machine. Peggy says, well, I guess we're just different that way, Hank. I need excitement to feel excited.
Yeah,
She backs out with the car, drives off, and then you hear Dale, here's one. Put a wasp up your nose or take a shower in Bill's bathroom. I just think it's hilarious. All right, we're at St. Ignatius. Peggy is playing the guitar for the kids, like the old nun, the singing nun thing.
Yeah.
And they're all singing along with her. One of the kids speaks up and goes, Sister Peggy, will you come play kickball with us? She goes, all right, but I'm not playing catcher. I have kneeled enough for one day.
Again, they're leaning into Sister Act.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because that's kind of...
Well, Airplane, too. You know, the nun on Airplane that's in there playing the guitar for the sick kid.
Yeah,
all that stuff, yeah. So Mother Superior is waiting in her door. The bell rings and all the kids go out.
Or the most famous nun, to me, the most famous nun, Julie Andrews.
That's true.
In The Sound of Music.
That's true.
She was a nun in that movie.
Well, and then there's the flying nun with Sally Field. It was a TV show.
Yeah.
She could literally fly.
Yeah.
She was a nun who could fly because that's how you make a TV show.
Was Mary Poppins a nun?
No.
Well, how did she
Mary
fly?
Poppins is a demon.
There needs to be a horror movie about that. Oh, speaking of horror movies,
she just pulls shit out of that bag. I don't understand it. How does it happen?
Have you watched
how does she have cartoon penguins dancing on the roof and shit?
Yeah,
I don't know any of that.
I think they were all on drugs. Actually, I don't think that was an actual event. They were probably in an alley, and that's what they were.
Absolutely 100%
hallucinating.
agree with you. I think they're all huffing paint.
Have you seen The Mousetrap yet?
Yeah, I've seen Mousetrap. Yeah.
No, it's a new movie called The Mousetrap. It's a new horror movie.
Oh, I guess not then.
So, we've discussed this before. The public domain stuff.
Yeah.
Well.
Oh, this is the Steamboat Willie.
The Steamboat Willie
yeah,
Mickey Mouse face is now able to be used in anything.
Yeah.
And it's about a girl who is at work at an arcade.
Yeah.
And she decides to take to work late or whatever.
Yeah.
And one of her friends is getting texts from a boy that's working with her, supposed to be there with her all night.
Right.
And she's like, "Oh, I want to go see this boy." So pretty much everybody leaves, and it's just her there by herself, and weird stuff starts to happen. And then it's the Steamboat Willie face mask on a murderer. So the murderer is a guy who's in that mask.
So stupid.
And
it could have been.
They did a Winnie the Pooh one too, but that one was actually
Blood and Honey, and they're making a second one.
That one was actually better because the premise of it I think is funnier.
Yeah.
It's like Christopher Robin thinks that all these things were fake, but they were actually real. And when he goes back to show his girlfriend the 100 Acre Woods and stuff, he's like, he was going to go back to show her the stuffed animals that he had left behind, but they weren't really stuffed animals. He thought that he was imagining it as a kid. So he goes back, and Piglet and Pooh Bear, which they're pretty much just anthropomorphic. It's just a guy in a Pooh Bear mask and a guy in a Piglet mask. And they chase his girlfriend and kill him and his girlfriend both because he abandoned them. So the premise that he abandoned them and they come back and kill him is hilarious. Can't wait till Toy Story is in the public domain in 40 years.
Nope. Mother Superior is waiting at the door, and she says, "So, how's your first week going?" Peggy says, "Oh, Mother Superior, thank you so much for giving me this chance. This is easily the most rewarding job I have ever had." She goes, "More rewarding than teaching crippled children to walk in El Salvador?" She goes, "Oh, tons more."
Wow.
She says, "Well, I couldn't be more pleased with your work. As a matter of fact, I've assigned you to cover my Principles of Catholicism class next period." She goes, "Principles of Catholicism?" She goes, "Yeah, it's only for a couple of weeks. I can't get out of jury duty. It's my own fault for registering to vote." That's a great joke right there.
Yeah, that is a good joke.
She goes, "Well, thank you so much, but religion's not really my subject." And she kind of laughs it off. She goes, "Oh, not your subject. You're going to replace Sister Mary Catherine as the cut-up around here." And she leaves, and you see that Peggy is super worried about this because Peggy has no idea about
Catholicism. She thought she was coming in to be a permanent science teacher, but she has no clue what she's doing. She's not a very religious person, even though she's Methodist or whatever. I guarantee she just sits in the back of the church. It's an optics thing more than it is, hey, I'm going to church for church. Yeah.
So now we see her reading the Bible in the class, and she says, let's see, what was the last thing you were studying with Mother Superior? And the kid says how do you say that?
Transubstantiation.
Transubstantiation. I'm sorry, I'm sick.
No, you're good.
She goes,
which is pretty much the bread and wine thing. It's the conversion of the substance of the Eucharistic elements into the body and blood of Christ. Yeah.
So the kid says transubstantiation. She goes, "Trans what now?" I just love that. Trans what now? He goes, "Transubstantiation." She goes, "Oh, okay. Tell you what, why don't we just rap about God?" And then a student says, "Sister Peggy, I have a question. Does God have a last name?" She goes, "Well, I'd have to say no. He only has one name, like Cher."
Yeah.
And then you hear this other kid, I swear it's got to be the woman who does Luann's voice, because she goes, "Sister Peggy, if cats can't pray, do they still go to heaven?"
Oh, Brittany Murphy, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's the thing is I'm just going to do a warning to everybody out here. You can't pretend to be a nun. You can't pretend to be a student as an adult and go into a school. You can't pretend to be a doctor. What she's doing is fraud.
Yeah.
And
it's absolutely illegal.
And it's illegal.
Yeah.
And if ever, like at the end of it, however the situation is resolved, in real life, you would probably go to jail for
it. Or pay a huge fine.
Or a huge fine. So, well, there was a woman that I read about in the Houston area, maybe, that pretended to be her daughter.
Oh.
And her daughter's in middle school. So she went to school as her middle school daughter, made it all the way through lunch. Made it all the way through lunch, gets busted in PE because her daughter's her daughter's like a runner and stuff like that, and she wasn't doing nothing. She was just walking around the track with everybody else. I think she was just a bored stay-at-home mom that didn't have nothing better to do, and she just thought some crazy-ass shit up, sitting there going delirious, being at home all day.
Too much allergy medicine.
Well, no, I just don't think it's healthy for a human being in modern society to sit at home 24/7 and never leave the house kind of thing. But no, she said that she wanted to show how it's easy to infiltrate this kind of thing. She was pretty much just saying, are our kids safe? If I could sit at school all day in my kid's class and make it till after lunch before you notice that I'm even there, how would that play out with, honestly, the students not snitching on her is what I don't get.
I don't
understand. How some kid didn't pick up on it. The kids had to have been in on it with her, I feel like.
I would think so. I mean, because the kids are going to call you out real quick.
Yeah, I think they had to be in on it or something to an extent. But yeah, that's the whole premise here is like she's now in over her head to the point where it's like, damn, I was only teaching Spanish.
She thinks she's got this part handled too.
But nuns aren't just teachers in the schools. No. They're supposed to be like guidance counselors and things like that. They're supposed to be a little bit more than just that. So she didn't realize, I'm going to have to do all this. I thought I was just teaching Spanish.
Yeah.
So she's way, way out of her element.
This kid asks her, says, Sister Peggy, if cats can't pray, do they still go to heaven? She goes, well, now I'm not sure where I heard this, but all dogs go to heaven, so I'm sure that cats do not. The student's kind of murmuring. She goes, come on, keep them coming. Let's see who can stump the sister. So now we're at the Hill House. It's breakfast time. Everybody's in there. Peggy comes in and she goes, Bobby, sorry I did not have time to make you lunch this morning. Maybe you can trade this can of beets for something. And then puts just a damn can of beets into a bag and hands it to her son for lunch.
That's a crazy lunch.
Hank
High in
says,
sodium.
Donna had plenty of time to make her kids lunch and she was robbing us blind. She goes, Hank, when are you going to quit sulking? He goes, I don't know, but when I do, I'll give you 2 weeks notice, which is more than you gave me. He's still pissed. I mean, he's still pretty pissed.
Rightfully so, though. Like, she didn't give him any notice. He just quit on him, and he was relying on her for work.
She says, all right, you're disappointed. I get it. The smell of propane gives you the goosebumps. For me, it's the smell of children learning Spanish. That's not a thing, Peggy.
No.
You can't smell children learning. She goes, I wish
she's smelling children, that we've got bigger problems.
And here's a great T-shirt for you. I wish you could open your nose to my passion. That is a wonderful, I would wear that T-shirt no matter where. Well, I wish you could open your nose to my passion.
I have had a couple of people reach out, not really like reach out enough to mention stuff, but just suggestion stuff like they're ready for a opportunity to purchase merchandise kind of thing. Like people are ready for T-shirts
it's coming,
and hoodies
guys.
and
it's
stuff.
coming. It's coming. We're trying to make a deal. So she storms out, and then Bobby drinks all his juice, stands up, and he's going to storm out. And he says to Hank, and you never believed in my comedy career either. And he just storms out there. He just takes the chance.
Out of there.
Well, I mean, he's just like, everybody's pissed. I'm going to be pissed. All right, so
he's
we're
a
back.
great actor and a great opportunity
to act.
About? He's going to.
So we're back at St. Ignatius, and she is now handing out communion wafers to these kids who are taking the communion. And she goes, Billy, there you go. There. And she's putting them in their mouths. This kid goes, Sister Peggy, I dropped my practice wafer on the floor.
5-second rule.
She goes, 5-second rule. She gives it right back to him. And then you hear, excuse me, sister, I'm looking for, because Hank comes in. He's got flowers in his hand. He sees her in a nun habit, and he goes, Peggy? She goes, holy crap. And we go to our second commercial break with Hank finding out that she is now a nun. And we'll be right back.
Snack Attack is a podcast about the history of your favorite snacks, candies, and treats. Each 5-minute or less episode features the history of a great snack from around the world. We'll also visit what the status of the snack is today and give you a little knowledge to lord over your friend. Snack Attack is available anywhere you get your podcast or at roguemedianetwork.com. Let's get snacking!
Step into the unexpected with Cultastic, or How to Start a Cult Without Really Trying. A podcast where cult creation unfolds in the most unpredictable way. Join us on a unique journey into the world of theoretical cult formation. Unlike any other podcast, each episode of Cultastic is co-written in part using ChatGPT, and we let it decide our fate, good or bad. What makes Cultastic truly intriguing? We don't know what's coming each week. Together with our AI co-author, we'll discover and build this cult, one episode at a time, exploring various aspects of cult dynamics, leadership, and group psychology. Delve into themes of charisma, influence, and the power of group thinking. It's a blend of expert analysis, theoretical exploration, and the unforeseen twists of AI-generated ideas. Remember, Cultastic is an exercise in imagination and education where we weave a narrative one episode and one tenant at a time. Curious about where this journey will take us? Subscribe to Cultastic or How to Start a Cult without really trying on your favorite podcast platform or at roguemedianetwork.com. Let's build this mission to save the people of Earth, week by unpredictable week.
All right, and we are back.
We're back.
Hank has walked in.
He's found Peggy.
He's got flowers in his hand. He was coming to surprise his wife, and he finds her dressed as a nun in a Catholic school.
He's pissed.
What are you wearing?
What are you doing?
She goes, it's called a habit, sir, and you are drunk. She goes, I'll be right back. Danny, lead the room in a game of Bible Hangman. The Bible Hangman. She says he's drunk and then makes him leave the room, which is insane.
That is insane.
So she pushes Hank into a storage closet out in the hall, and she goes, all right, I'm going to be straight with you. I'm not really a nun.
Which he knows. Come on now.
She goes, I'm only pretending to be a nun so I can teach here. He goes, you'd rather live a lie than sell an honest day's gas? Hank, this is the best job I've ever had. I feel like I'm really making a difference in my students' lives. He goes, you're impersonating a nun. She goes, oh, with the cajillion things that are right about this, you zoom right in on the one negative. She goes, it's not like I'm dressing up as a rabbi and circumcising people left and right, and people do that, you know. No, they don't, Peggy. They don't do that.
They don't do that. And not left and right. I mean, there are rabbis, and they do circumcise people, but it's not a left and right activity.
It's not people dressing up and doing it. Hank says, well, at least when Whoopi Goldberg posed as a nun, she was running from gangsters. And he leaves in a huff. He throws the flowers in the trash. I mean, he is pissed off at this point. Now we go into, I guess, the nun lounge, because it's a teacher's lounge, basically, right?
But it's all nuns. Is it the nunnery?
I don't think it's a nunnery. I think that's where they hatch nuns.
Or
it's where nuns come out of eggs.
I was trying to come up with a pun for cafeteria, but I was going to say the nunatorium. The nunatorium.
Yeah, nunatorium. Yeah. But they're all in there having their lunch, and they're watching the TV while they're doing it. And there's more Monsignor Martinez on TV. Guy throws a knife at him. He then takes a candle and spits fire at the guy, burns the guy to death, and then vio candillos.
Yeah, it was Colonel Mustard with candle fire. Candle fire, not a candlestick.
And one of the nuns says, oh, please, a real priest would never do that. Oh, this is the worst show ever. Peggy walks in. She goes, oh, is it another flashback episode? So now we know that there's a lot of flashback episodes.
A lot of flashbacks,
Martinez.
Yeah.
And the nun says, I know anger is a sin, but it really steams me that kids could watch this show and think it represents the teaching of the Catholic Church. Peggy says, oh, so the Monsignor kills a few people here and there. I say whatever gets people talking about Catholicism is a good thing. The nun says, sister, our children's souls are at stake. What if one of your students watched an episode and spit sacramental wine or used a communion wafer as a ninja throwing star? Peggy says, okay, so say those are sins. If nothing, it's nothing a confession with Father McCleary couldn't take care of. I hear he can fix anything.
And that's not the point of
no. The other nun
being a good Catholic.
The other nun says, oh, he is good. And then the first nun is, Sister Peggy, if the children are confused with a lot of nonsense, they may lose their faith. And you know how God punishes that. Eternal damnation.
That line is the fun. That line for me is hilarious. The children are confused. If the children are confused with a lot of nonsense, they may lose their faith. Now that because there's a lot of people who say, well, I know God exists. Yeah. Which is contradictory to saying you can't have faith in something and know at the same time, right. Kind of thing. Just a funny line. And then the next one too, where they talk about the eternal damnation.
She goes, eternal damnation, and Peggy goes, do you mean hell? She goes, yep. So if you don't mind, the ladies' doral is open.
The Doral open.
Yeah, the Doral open
which is
it's a tennis.
Tennis thing. It used to be sponsored by a cigarette company. That's the funny thing is that a cigarette company funded a tennis event.
Yeah.
They were sponsors.
And it shows
it was like the Winston Cup back in the day for NASCAR.
Right.
And then they switched to beer company. They switched to Busch instead.
Like that's
it went from the Winston Cup series to the Busch series.
And you see Peggy, and she's getting really worried. She's counting those beads. You know, she's going through those beads. She's counting.
Yeah, she's getting up riled up. But that's the thing is she went to a church that's post schism. So
sure.
I don't know why she's kind of worked up so much about it because she doesn't believe anyway in the eternal damnation in the same way because she's a Methodist and they're a part of the.
And they do believe in hell.
They're part of the break off. Well, actually, it's funny. The hell actually in early Christianity, hell is adopted from Zoroastrianism and the Great Zoroaster. Which I don't really know much about that religion, but it's a pre-Christian.
Love me a great Zoroaster.
It's a pre-Christian monotheistic religion.
Okay.
And there's a lot of comparisons to
single God. One God?
Single
okay.
God. The Book of Gilgamesh and all that stuff.
Oh, I do remember the Book of Gilgamesh. All right, so she goes back to class. She takes a big breath, and she says, "Sorry I'm late. So what can I fill your little minds with?" A student says, "Sister Peggy, I really like going to church. Does that mean I can give it up for Lent?" She goes, "Well, I'm pretty sure God wouldn't like it, but what can he do? You caught him in a technicality. Good for you." Jesus. She goes, "Now, who had that question about birth control?" Now we go back and we see she's asking these questions, and then Monsignor Martinez pops in. He crashes through the stained glass window and comes in. He pulls the cross down on the thing like it's a lever, and the entire floor opens up and starts sucking kids into this vortex. And then you see them falling, and they fall into hell, and these demons are behind them, poking them with pitchforks.
This scene
and stuff.
here is actually digital. So everything else is in the episode is traditional ink and paint, but this where the Catholic students all go to hell and Peggy's nightmare and all that, the entire nightmare sequence, which is 1 minute and 36 seconds long.
Pretty long for the show,
the only reason why I
honestly.
know it's that long is because I did a clip for it on TikTok. So I started posting on TikTok again. So go to our TikTok at BWAAAKOTH, and you can see that clip there. But that clip is digitally inked and painted. Whereas everything else in this particular, we're actually
I wonder if
at
it has
the
a lot
point.
to do with all the fire and stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I think it had. Well, I think it had to do with trial and error too, because this is the they have a couple. I think it was one last season. There's a couple in this season where they have some digital sequences, but the next season, I think season 7 is where we go full digital.
Full digital, yeah. I think
it's either
you said
7
that.
or 8 where it's
Yeah.
full digital, but we're getting close to that point. Maybe it's even 9. Either way, we're like either a season or 3 away from the point to where they go full digital.
So these demons are lining the kids up like lemmings on a cliff, and they're pushing them off with their pitchforks. And
No
just making
pineapples.
them jump into hell. No pineapples.
No pineapples.
Monsignor Martinez is there. He's pushing them off the cliff finally. It shows him. He grows some horns on his head. You see the flames in his glasses. It's not great.
It's not good. Not good at all.
One of the students says, "I didn't know it was a sin." Peggy comes up behind, and she's like, "You leave her alone. It's not her fault." And the fire stops. She goes, "Oh, thank God." And then you hear Hank's voice. "Sorry about that. Just be a second." And he's hooking up new propane tanks.
Yeah.
And then the fire starts again. He goes, "That's a clean burning hell. I tell you what." And then
That's a
it's
meme.
that meme. Yeah. And it shows Hank. He's got the fire in his glasses and stuff. And then starts pushing them into the flames again. And you hear, "Monsignor, please, please. I didn't mean to damn their mortal souls for all of eternity. I just wanted a full-time job." And she wakes up from her nightmare. We see she's in bed, and she's like, "Oh, God." So she knows she's got to do something about it, finally. Next day at St. Ignatius, she comes into the class and goes, "Class, I have bad news for anyone who did well on the last test." What news is that going to be? Anyone who did well on the last test?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just crazy. And so she says, "Bad news for anyone who did well on the test." She looks over, and Mother Superior is standing there already in her class. She goes, "Mother Superior? What happened to jury duty?" Mother Superior says, "The trial's over. You just can't get a jury to convict in this country." "So did you finish the chapter on transubstantiation?" She goes, "Well, yes, but I think my take on the whole thing might be a tad blasphemous. Just a tad."
Just a tad.
She says, "Mother Superior, I have a confession to make. I am not a nun.
Here's the climax.
I am," and she pulls her habit off her head, and she goes, "a Methodist."
You know, it's
she's
kind of
so
funny.
proud.
It's kind of like
It's freaking Superman.
yeah, it's like a cartoon or a comic book sequence.
Yeah.
It's like
It's like unmasking a superhero.
it's
or
like
something.
Clark Kent and Lois Lane, and he's in his Superman deal, and he like puts his glasses on. He's like,
I
Clark
am a
Clint.
Methodist.
Yeah.
All the kids gasp.
I'm a Methodist.
Mother Superior says,
That should
"What?"
be a funny shirt with Peggy in a habit, and it says "I'm a Methodist" on it.
That's it.
I would wear that one.
I
That's
would
a good
wear
one.
that easily.
Or I'm not a nun, and it's got Peggy with a habit on. That's good too.
Mother Superior says, "Why would you do this?" She goes, "Because I love to teach. Not because I hate your religion. I want to be very clear about that." She goes, "I want you out of here right now." She goes, "I hope that you can forgive me. I think you have to."
Yeah.
Okay. So she leaves. Now we're at Strickland. Hank is cutting open a box. He pulls it out, and it's a coffee mug that he put in the paperwork for. It says Peggy on the side of it. He puts the mug in his desk. Peggy, you see her come in the doorway. She's got her Strickland hat and her Strickland jacket on. He goes, what are you doing here? She goes, I made a promise, and I am keeping it. I couldn't find a full-time teaching work, so I'm here to begin my new life as a junior grill associate. She seems very sad when she says this. Hank says, they caught you, didn't they?
This line she's about to tell, too, is such a jackass line after which go ahead.
She goes, no, I told him the truth. Working here is my penance. I gave it to myself while I was still
pretending
pretending to be a nun.
Yeah, she's such a jackass. She gave herself a penance while she was still pretending to be a nun.
She's standing there kind of polishing a grill.
Which, if you don't know what a penance is, people, so back there was a group
it's
of
a
guys.
formation of words with punctuation.
Yeah, there you go. There used to be guys back in the day. They were a group of monks, and they would have the cat o' nine tails, which is just a stick with strings on it and a bunch of like metal barbs, and it was like a whip with metal barbs on it, and they would whip themselves. There's a scene of it in.
It's in that Tom Hanks thing.
Monty Python.
Well, there's that, but it's also in what do you call the one where he's looking through the Bible to solve the mysteries?
Dan Brown.
Yeah,
I know that's the author's name.
But it's in that. There's one guy. There's
the Da Vinci Code.
Da Vinci Code. Yeah, there's
Da Vinci
a bad guy
Code,
in there
yeah.
who whips himself. I've never watched those.
I've never watched any of them either. I read half of the Da Vinci Code book, and it was just I'm not real big on codexes and
I don't
deciphering stuff and all like that. It's not my favorite. It's like to me that show was just it was like man, what's that movie with
National Treasure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it was just like National Treasure.
It's just Bible stuff
but
instead.
Not as
instead
fun
of
to
American
watch.
stuff, it's Bible stuff.
Just not as fun to watch. I feel like National Treasure was actually a decent little funny movie.
So she gave herself a penance whenever she was still being a nun, and Hank says, so working at Strickland is like a punishment to you? She goes, oh, I'm sorry, Hank. I didn't mean it that way. That's the first time I've seen her be a human in this whole thing.
Yeah.
He goes, no, I understand. Teaching's what you love. Any other job is going to feel like a punishment. Peggy, you're fired. And she goes, you mean it? He goes, when you finally do get that full teaching job, here's something you can keep your pencils in. Hands her the mug. She goes, oh, Hank, you're the best. And they hug, and the camera pulls out, and you see the office around them. And he goes, of course, you know that can't leave Strickland property. And that's a wonderful way to end this whole thing.
Yeah,
Hank is still worried about the rules. We get the credits, and then we hear transubstantiation. She goes, trans what now?
Trans what now?
Yeah, I love that. Love it.
All
right, and there you go. That's King of the Hill, episode 6, or season 6, episode 12. Or 6ABE07. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret Hill.
Yeah, Judy Bloom, tongue-in-cheek there.
You want to tell them where they can find us?
You can find us on social media at BWAAAKOTH. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/@BWAAA3AKOTH. I would appreciate it if you went to the YouTube and other social media pages and pushed like, follow, subscribe, whatever the button may be. And also on your YouTube, hit the bell, get your notifications so you know when we go live. We go live every time we record. And also, I've just recently started uploading clips back again to our TikTok. I had a lot of issues with it, and I ended up remembering the password to get into it and stuff. So I'm into our TikTok again, and I'm posting there again. So if you could go to our TikTok, which is also at BWAAAKOTH, 3 A's, I would appreciate that, and so would Mike, and help push us into these algorithms and help us in the next push. We've not went down, we've not went up, we've kind of just been steady and consistent, and we're looking for that next surge. So we're working on stuff, and figuring out whatever it is that we need to do to get that next little pop. Everybody that's been with us since the beginning, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us from season 1. If you started with us at season 2, 3, 4, 5, whenever, we appreciate you just as much as the day ones. But we do definitely appreciate anybody that takes. I mean, if you only listen to one episode, I appreciate that you took the time to even listen to it. Leave us some reviews too. That's not something we ask a lot about. But
good, bad, or indifferent. We'll take them all.
We'll take all of them, and we read all the reviews. We've always been very transparent and read everything. You got something for us?
Well, I was going to say also something we haven't mentioned in a while, the call-in line.
Yeah, we have a call-in line. You could email us, too, at BWAAAKOTH@gmail. Remember, BWAAA is 3 A's, KOTH@gmail. You can go on there and email me and let me know, like, if you like episode suggestions, what you would like to see from us in the future.
Sure.
Review stuff. Hey, if you don't like it, tell us what you don't like. Tell us what you do like.
If you would,
tell us what you're indifferent about.
If you would like to call in and leave a message, which you can do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it is 254-271-4007. Just call in, leave us a message. I don't care what it is.
We'll play it if it's
as
appropriate.
long as it's not, kill everybody or whatever, then we'll play it.
If it's not a bunch of slurs or
I
something,
really,
we'll
I
play
really
it.
enjoy it when you guys call in. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I like it too.
Any kind of
interaction
we
is
can get like that
good.
is great.
And
also, remember,
we like engagement.
Monday episodes are on video. Friday episodes are on audio. Friday episodes are just the That Ain't Right Fridays, and we just talk about other stuff. Sometimes it's King of the Hill stuff. Sometimes it's something else. We also have another show called Swimmer's Ear that's all about adult swim stuff. And anytime you can check out any of those shows, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah. Also, I'm just going to leave it on this, but before we completely sign off, Wimatanye. I forgot what it was. I brain farted. I was going to say something about brain farted.
Wimatanye, indeed. We'll see you next time.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production. Are you a podcaster? Let's talk podcast hosting. Are you tired of your current podcast host? Need real support in a community that gets it? At Rogue Media Network, we offer top-tier podcast hosting services to help you thrive. From hosting and distribution to dedicated support, we've got you covered. Starting as low as $25 a month. Join our community of passionate podcasters today. Contact us at hello@roguemedianetwork.com.